Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we've got this stupid article from the stupid LA Times going after Cobra Kai, not after, of course, any of the content of the show, not going after any of the storyline or any objective elements. Oh no, the reason why Cobra Kai is terrible and must be cancelled is because apparently its Whiteness is under a new spotlight, because God forbid we have any shows whatsoever that don't feature an all-inclusive cast of characters, which, by the way, this show does, but of course, no one at the LA Times has probably even watched the damn show enough to know just how diverse this show actually is. But before diving into the story, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the rumble button if you're watching over there. As we all know, everyone's getting deplatformed nowadays because free speech apparently means nothing. And so please check out links in the description of the links of the description in the description of the video below if you want to find out where you can follow me on Parler, on all the different social media platforms, and also ways that you can support the channel. I am now accessible by cryptocurrency as well. So if you want to donate via cryptocurrency, that is now an option. Delving in, don't know exactly how it all works, but I'm doing what I can. But anyway, let's dive into this terrible story from the LA Times. By the way, so glad my ad blocker is on. I tried working this on Chrome. It says, you can't watch this, you can't read this article unless you turn on the whitelist. And I'm like, no. And it's like, do you want to support journalism? No. This kind of journalism? Hell no, I don't want to support this kind of journalism because this is complete crap. All right, let's go ahead and read this nonsense here. It says, fans have quoted it for decades. Sweep the leg. Get him a body bag. Wax on, wax off. Now, more than 30 years after the Karate Kid crane kicked its way into pop culture history in 1984, the mythos has been reborn for the digital age. Interestingly enough, this article should have come out years ago when the first season came out, but then again, it's not until the third season that decided, oh, wait a minute, let's try and go after the whole thing about it being too white. Ridiculous. Make that reborn again. After debuting on YouTube Premium in 2018, breakout spin-off Cobra Kai moved to Netflix last year, where the series, whose third season premiered on the platform New Year's Day, received more attention than ever. Series 3 was originally produced for YouTube before the company shifted its original programming strategy. So that's interesting. I did not know that. I thought that this was mostly a Netflix project. Ralph Macchio still remembers the moment it sunk in that he'd get to come back for more, as Daniel LaRusso, the scrawny San Fernando teen befriended by Noriki Pat Morita's martial arts master, Mr. Miyagi. Producer Jerry Weintraub put his arm around me at the end of the screening and said, "We're going to be making a couple of these," said Macchio. Now, some people have been making fun of me for saying Macchio instead of it's Macchio. It's Macchio. You're mispronouncing it. That's okay. That's fine by me. The sleeper hit indeed spawned sequels, including the Okinawa, Japan set, The Karate Kid Part 2 in 1986, of which, of course, Season 3 has a lot of references to, a lot of flashbacks to, and also a lot of characters coming back from. And in Part 3 in 1989, which is not nearly as good as Part 2 was, which of course was not nearly as good as Part 1 was, but it was a lot more bearable than Part 3, though I do think and hope that Terry Silver comes back, because I would love to see that cheesy grin and that cheesy characterization return in a show that is all right for cheese. But then again, because his character happens to be white, it might not be good enough for the LA Times if that were to happen, even if he was a villain. A Saturday morning cartoon even reimagined Daniel and Mr. Miyagi as a globe-trotting adventures. But by that time, a fourth film was made, 1994's The Next Karate Kid, starring Hilary Swank. Macchio and on-screen rival William Zabka as blonde bully Johnny Lawrence were looking to branch out. And actually, I'm someone that is kind of fond of The Next Karate Kid, because that did come out in 1994, which is around the time that I can remember films starting to come out and watching them for the first time. And so therefore, I was, around 6 years old at that time when that one came out. And so I have a little bit more fonder memories since I was more aware of that movie as it came out. Improbably, the duo have slipped back into their roles decades later on Cobra Kai, in which the middle-aged Johnny, a down-and-out alcoholic stuck in the glory days of his youth and still stinging from his defeat at the '84 All-Valley Karate Tournament, takes on his own teen protege, Miguel Diaz. Ooh, what's that? Miguel Diaz? Is that a white character? Oh, wait, that's right. It's not. In fact, you could argue that the main kid character, right, because there's the adult characters and then there's the kid characters, the main kid character is, guess what? Hispanic. But guess we can't talk about that. Apparently he also must be too white for the LA Times. He goes on, and reopens the dojo where he learned his all-American style of no mercy karate. Daniel, meanwhile, is a bonsai-pushing car salesman, milking his karate glory to promote his business. The studios have become the teachers, who are either of them their best selves. It seemed interesting here that they got the headline out there just to give a review of the overall show. When are they going to dive into the nonsense is what I'm wondering here. Oh boy, let's see. Quote, for me, as much as the show is karate-centric, it's not about karate, said Zabka55, who added work behind the camera to his resume in the intervening years, nabbing an Oscar nomination for the 2003 short Most. It's about humans. It's about adults trying to find their way, putting things behind them, struggling. And that's what every character in the show has in some way. And that's why everyone's loving the show, because it is just fun. It is just trying to tell fun stories. It's not trying to push agendas. In fact, it mocks the whole agenda-telling nonsense. It mocks the whole PC culture that we live in nowadays. And that's really probably what the LA Times has the biggest issue with, is that it's not full-on blown woke, which guess what? Don't forget, LA Times, if something goes full-blown woke, it usually doesn't do well. And if it does have initial success, over time, it slowly dies. Because the only time it ever has that initial success is when it invades a already popular property, and then as people start to realize, wait a minute, this is not what I grew up with, this is not what I love, people will abandon it relatively quickly. Just go ahead and look to the most recent, era and saga of Doctor Who, for instance, right? A lot of people stuck on for the Jodie Whittaker initial premiere, and then once they realized what it was, it's been bleeding people ever since, and now it is some of the worst ratings that show has ever seen in its history. One last note I will say is I had no idea that Zabka is younger than Daniel LaRusso. That to me is crazy. Didn't it say up here that he was 59? So Ralph Macchio is 59 years old and was therefore older than Zabka back in the original Karate Kid film. I could have sworn that that Zabka would have been older. That's interesting, that he was 4 years older. Daniel LaRusso, 4 years older. That's actually pretty crazy. Likeable characters, high-energy fights, suburban melodrama, and 80s dad rock have fueled the 3 seasons of Cobra Kai to date, with a 4th already planned, and its semi-satirical approach to slinging nostalgia while expanding the Karate Kid mythology into a multi-generational saga has proved popular with audiences. On YouTube, the first episode has amassed more than 98 million views, and the 3rd season swiftly unseated steamy Regency era romance Bridgerton in Netflix's ranking of its top 10 shows. You want to know why? Because it's just a good show. It's a good, fun show that allows us to escape. It's that kind of stuff that people want. It's that kind of stuff that people are hungry for. Why do you think Tiger King did so well earlier this year? It's still insane, or rather last year. It's so insane to me that Tiger King came out last year in 2020. And when I was in 2020, I couldn't believe that it had come out in that year, right? At the very beginnings of the pandemic, the beginnings of all the lockdown. It's because it allowed people to escape. It allowed people just to have fun. And of course, people like the LA Times are going to try and go after shows like this to say, oh, well, it needs to, if it really wants to up the ante, if it really wants to be important, it should push some more diversity, which no one is asking for. And if you are, you're not a fan of the show, or you don't watch the show. Simple as that. For creators John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Heald, spinning the films they grew up with into a fresh narrative and dreaming up new characters like Daniel Teen's daughter Samantha, Mary Mauser, Johnny's estranged son Robbie, Tanner Buchanan, and Cobra Kai's star student Miguel have allowed them to dive into even ever deeper into surprisingly poignant themes. Examining how Johnny and Daniel each remain chained to the past, for example, was a fertile springboard for contrasting how their worldviews have diverged so starkly. Quote, we try to approach our characters not from a place of judgment, but from a place of understanding. And by doing that, you're allowing for the possibility that anyone has the potential to grow and anyone has the potential to evolve and progress in the world. Thank you very much. That is how you do these characters. You come from a place of understanding, not from a place of judgment. That's something else probably the LA Times has a big issue with, because they would much rather it just be attacking the original, characters. But it doesn't do that. All right, let me try and see if I can find it. Where in the hell is it even? It's amazing how this is the headline, right? About, oh, it's Whiteness is under new spotlight, and it's already spent the first several paragraphs not even talking about what its headline is about. This is so freaking ridiculous. Okay, so now it's talking about what these characters have saying. Now it's saying here about the role of Miguel. Okay. Let's just see. Now his goals include, talking about Mirajuena says, include getting behind the camera and powering his own inclusive projects. Quote, while I would love that inch to turn into a mile, it needs to be just the beginning. The stories that I want to write are stories that are authentic to the people that I grew up with. Okay, so he says the people that I grew up with. I don't really see how that is inclusive. It just seems like he wants to tell stories from his childhood, which is what most people who are writing stories want to do in the first place. All right, it goes on here talking about John Kreese in Vietnam. Okay. I see that at this point. Supporting characters of color. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about this then. Kreese's elevation and the heightened scrutiny that comes with being embraced by one of the most powerful companies in Hollywood also underscores the fact that there are now, here it is, that there are now 3 white men at the center of Cobra Kai. Oh, wait a minute. At the center of Cobra Kai? Didn't you just forget the fact that Miguel, who, as I said before, is the main character when it comes to the kids, is Hispanic? I guess that you just glossed over that fact, but I guess he's not a central character to you, LA Times. If anyone is ist. Is it the LA Times? I think it might be. It says here, a franchise rooted and deeply indebted to Eastern tradition. Morita, who earned an Academy Award nomination for his performance in the first film and died in 2005, appears in flashbacks in the series, and both Yuji Okumoto and Tamlin Tomita reprise their roles as Daniel's rival and ex-flame, respectively, from Part 2 in Season 3 guest arcs, which was probably the best part. In fact, many people said, we would love for this to come back. We would love for them to go back to Okinawa. I myself said I would love for a spin-off just to be based in Okinawa, dealing with those characters, because those characters are fantastic. Supporting characters of color also expanded roles in the new season, but after 30 episodes on 2 platforms, Cobra Kai has yet to cast an Asian lead. Oh, God forbid, no Asian lead. No Asian lead. Maybe it's because the people that made the show respect the source material, and guess what? That means they respect Mr. Miyagi. For them to put in a Asian main character as an adult to kind of take the place of Mr. Miyagi, wouldn't that really, honestly be paying homage and paying respect to the character by simply saying, oh, we're just going to replace you with another Asian? That would be, in my opinion, more offensive. But to the LA Times, that would be more woke, more inclusive, and therefore must be supported at all terms. Now, as I said before, I would love for these old characters that they've just brought back in from Okinawa to come back into the series in some major way, because those characters are great on their own. But the fact that they're like, well, there's no main characters, and so therefore we need a person of color as a main character. It's like, then you want diversity for the sake of diversity and not because of a natural progression of events. Just remember here that these 3 characters were the three of the biggest characters from the original series. They're also 3 of the biggest actors from the original series. Guess what? If Pat Morita was still alive, he would be in this show. He would be one of the lead characters. Everyone loves Mr. Miyagi. Why do you think this show centers so much around Mr. Miyagi in those flashbacks? Because basically, Mr. Miyagi is a character in and of himself. He still lives and breathes through this show. But that's not good enough for you. You would rather him be replaced just for the sake of having some type of diversity. It says here, quote, except for the Latino character of Miguel, all the other people of color are outside of the main cast, so it actually doesn't show as diverse a show in a sense, said Ana Cristina Ramon, co-author of UCLA's annual Hollywood Diversity Report, or as I would like to call it, toilet paper. Sounds like toilet paper to me, which designates leads as the top 8 credited regular actors. Across the industry, the report found that white characters made up 75.9% of the leads in digital scripted series like Cobra Kai in the 2018-2019 season, while 5.9% of leads were gosh, they use Latinx. Even Latino people, guess what? They hate that. LA Times, you swine. Good Lord. So 5.9% were of Hispanic heritage, 4.7% were black, and just 1.8% were Asian. Wait a minute. If we broke down population percentages across the country, those actually aren't that far off. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, they're not perfect, right? They're not 1-to-1 ratio, but they're not that far off. And here's the thing. No one is stopping anyone from telling a story that they want. No one is stopping anyone from telling a story from their own background. The question is, are people going to want to watch it? And if your thought is immediately, well, white people should want to see these things. White people should want to support these things. If they're good narratives, then yeah, guess what? Everyone, regardless of their race, will support them. It's this type of nonsense that drives me crazy. A number of critics have taken notice of the series' whiteness as well. Salon Culture senior editor Han Nguyen, who had been critical of the series in the past, told the Times that, quote, the only main character of color who has any sort of interiority is Miguel. Danny LaRusso, Italian kid from New Jersey, is the most Japanese character on the show, he says. But I guess we can't have Italian representation. I guess that doesn't count. I guess that's just whiteness. Like, it's amazing to me how racist these people really are. Honestly, it's the LA Times and these asshats at Salon and the UCLA Diversity Report. They're the ones who are truly racist. It's insane. As Times TV critic Lorraine Alley writes, Cobra Kai has successfully mined laughs and pathos from Johnny's transformation through his proximity to an immigrant family. It's also scrutinized how Kreese's brand of karate perpetuates a cycle of militant, toxic masculinity. Good grief. But it has been slow to explore Daniel's own blind spots beyond a moment of clueless sushi-splaining and his bewilderment that his karate chopping commercials might be seen as cultural appropriation, and I pray to God they never do, because then it would be preaching and then it wouldn't be fun anymore. The show only cares about telling fun stories, fun narratives with fun characters. Your commentary is ludicrous. Quote, the thing I'd like to see them do is go beyond this suburban idyllic space, this white pocket dimension more deeply. Pocket dimension? What the hell are you talking about? This is the type of language from people who literally are trying to find a sense of importance in their life that they have to come up with expressions like pocket dimension of whiteness. Good grief, these people are so narcissistic and so full of themselves, said writer and podcaster Jeff Yang, who has covered the series for Quartz. Quote, what if they actually did encounter people who embraced martial arts not just to overcome bullying, but because it's a part of a larger tradition that exists within people of color communities? I guess going over to Okinawa was not enough for them. And as I said before, I would like for them to explore that, not because of this racial nonsense, not because of this POC nonsense, but rather because it would be an interesting and compelling story. It says here, sending Daniel back to Okinawa in the third season to reunite with Kumiko, Tomita, and Shozen, Okamoto, is a step in that direction, allowing the show to, quote, feel what was missing, to acknowledge that there's a big missing piece because of Mr. Miyagi, and come to the point of appreciating that it's not just Mr. Miyagi, it's everything that he touched and that touched him. From a character perspective, I would agree, which is why the Okinawa stuff was awesome. But it's not simply because of some racial nonsense. And the fact that people are so obsessed with this drives me insane. But I guess that's just my white privilege speaking, I guess. Dear Lord, this article just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? This is just ridiculous. It says here, let's look at it. Schlossberg cited casting limitations in Atlanta, where the show is filmed. Quote, when it comes to background casting, we are limited in making a high school on our show look exactly like a high school would in Reseda, he said. According to U.S. Census figures, Hispanics comprise 5% of the population of Atlanta and 10% of the population of Georgia, while Asians make up 5% of the population in the city and statewide. 4% statewide. Atlanta is 48% African-American, while Georgia is, as a whole, 32%. Yet visual representation such as that seen in the hallways of a high school is just the first step towards meaningful representation, said Ramon. Do you get to hear their stories being told? Meaningful representations means you get to find out the person's story from their perspective. So these schmucks, they want this show. They want Cobra Kai to become a history lesson in wokeness. They want you to watch the show and every episode be, let's explore this one person's experience and their culture, instead of just saying, let's have a fun time with fun characters and a fun show. They want to rip the fun right out of it and make it educational. And guess what happens if you do that? No one watches it. No one wants to be preached to. No one wants this woke nonsense thrown into these narratives. Why do you think those shows and movies tend to fail so miserably? Because people don't want it. They want to escape. They want to be able to have fun, and that's exactly what Cobra Kai has been. And one of the best things about the show is the fact that Cobra Kai has constantly mocked nonsense like what we're seeing here in the LA Times, and I hope and pray that they continue to do so, because if they fall into this narrative that the LA Times wants you to push forward, guess what? Everyone will stop watching. You will lose your massive audience. You will lose any sense of fun. And then you will be remembered, just like Game of Thrones, as a series that was really great in the beginning, kept strong for a very long time, and then failed epically at the very end, to the point where people don't even want to watch it anymore. I never want to see Game of Thrones ever again because of how bad the last season was. So I'm hoping and praying that the people like Schlossberg who made this show do not listen to assets like the LA Times here or any of the people that they mentioned here talking about, oh man, we got to get out of the white pocket dimension. Ridiculous nonsense. Oh my, I can't. My blood pressure can't go any further. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. What are your thoughts about this complete and utter crap? Like this complete BS nonsense. Oh, it's Whiteness is under new spotlight. 3 of the main adult characters happen to be white. Guess what? No one cares. People, honest people that are not just obsessed with color, obsessed with race like you are, don't care because guess what? We just want to have fun. We want to escape. That's what entertainment is about. It's supposed to entertain. And sure, along the way, there might be some educational stuff, but if your main focus is education and not entertainment, it will ultimately fail. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, smash the little rumble button. If you're watching over there, it's also uploaded on Minds Plus. Also, please check out all the links in the description of the video to find out where to follow me on the social media and also ways to support the channel. As I said earlier, I now take cryptocurrency, so if you do cryptocurrency and you want to support the channel, that would be great. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my January 2021 Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Ali C83, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his beautiful twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, On to June, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And also a huge shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps: Stan 4, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. You guys are all freaking amazing. Thank you so very much for being supporters. If you want your name shouted out, please consider joining on Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream. For $5 a month, you get access to that, and also you get access to exclusive giveaways, where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, digital codes, etc. $10 a month will get you all that, plus also access to a special podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Lots of fun. We do Q&As from that as well, so you get access to asking those Q&As, asking us any wide variety of questions. And for $25 a month, you get all of that stuff, plus you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream. And also for that first month, you get a free t-shirt shipped anywhere throughout the world. So if you want to consider any of those things, please check out the links in the description below, where you can find my Subscribe Star and Patreon, and also other ways to support the channel. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.